All right, hi, this is Atticus, and welcome to part 3 of Railway Empire 2 Scenario 12. We are at a point where we're trying to finish off that Königsberg Posen Katowice task, and we're trying to grow some cities and buy out Madam Ward. That's kind of what we have to do right now. And we're looking right here, that train will finish us off. When that train reaches its destination, unloads, we will be done with that one task. And our goal for research is this 300 point, I forget what it's called, Leaf Springs or something. It'll help our maintenance. And so we also have to get this Zurich to Graetz express line. We need to build up Gutersloh to 90,000 so we can put in a university and have a whole bunch of express lines. So no problem there. So what we're looking at here is we know Gutersloh needs to grow. We know we're trying to grow cities. So we want to set up a 3-city cluster here with Gutersloh, Bremen, which is up to the north and has textiles, and then Kassel, which is to the south and has meat. And so what we're going to do here is set up a 3-city cluster, and we're going to use a Johnny Hughes pass-through warehouse to do this 3-city cluster. So this is a third technique for setting up 3-city clusters that we're showing in this playthrough. And this one is a good one to use when your 3 cities are lined up in more or less in a row. Like they're north to south. Bremen goes south to Gutersloh, goes south, a little southeast to Kassel. So they're almost in a straight line. This is a great technique to use for that situation. Now the other two we have are more like triangles, and they're more like classic 3-city clusters because we're looking at them as triangles. But here we've got the straight line, so this pass-through warehouse technique works great. You put a warehouse on your middle city, in this case Gutersloh.
A station in this city?
And then as soon as you hear that crap, you try to see how you can turn that off. And I think it's the opponents. And you know what? I think now that I look back, I see that again. It's probably voices. Well, no, I don't want to. I think voices might also be our narrator too. I don't want to turn him down because you'll totally miss what's going on if I do that. But anyway, back to our 3-city cluster. So we set up a line from one end of the cluster to that warehouse, and then extend it on to the other end of the cluster, right? So in this case, Kassel to the Gutersloh warehouse to Bremen.
We only hear good things about the line from our passengers. Great.
Okay, so that means that one task is done, and I'm going to say goodbye to that task right away. Yeah, there we go. That one's done. That's not my favorite. I didn't do a good job on that one. I accidentally reset the train once and really cost us. So, who knows what that's going to do to our score. Well, I know it's going to kill our score. I don't know how awful it's going to be. So we're gonna get rid of some stuff here. We're going to get rid of, and I almost goofed here. I'm actually, I wasn't paying attention. No, Novikowski or whatever that is, Novikowski, whatever that is there with the sugar and the meat. I was about to blow that up, but it's actually Katowice that I'm looking for. So that one little train there, he's done his job. Thank you for your service. We're just going to just make sure I had the right one, and we're going to blow up that rail line, and we're going to blow up the stations in the track, because this is, again, there's a certain cheese factor to doing this, but at the same time, these are tasks they give you as part of the scenario that honestly don't make sense. They aren't the way I would play. They aren't the way I would set up my railroad. So I don't have any problem personally. It doesn't bother me a bit to blow these up and move on with my life. Plus, you get all that money back, and you can do some nice things with it. So that's kind of neat. All right. So not sure why I'm looking here. Oh, yeah. I wanted to go through now. We do not need those manufactured goods in the warehouse. What we can do is add in a couple of new things like milk and veggies, right? So now that warehouse in Posen can just take raw materials. And I didn't go ahead and add those yet because we've got more than we need in there to get our growth for what we're targeting for right away. All right, so back to our 3-city cluster. We're going to double track, and we're going to, set up our switches at both ends. The switches in the middle are kind of irrelevant unless you start doing some other things. But right now they're kind of irrelevant. We're going to set up the station at the north end in Bremen, and we'll double track it back to the warehouse as well. And then we're going to run like 4 trains, and we'll start them off kind of because of the money. We'll start one, and then as soon as we have some money, we'll make the line 2, and then as soon as we have some more money, we'll make the line 3. Then we'll make the line 4, and you'll see. So the idea is to have multiple trains running through. We'll start them at automatic because we don't have any passenger lines going through here. Eventually, as the cities grow, you would switch them over to freight only. They would haul your freight, and then you would add passenger lines later. And in fact, we probably will go back and do that to make sure that we have both. First of all, the passenger revenue is nice. We'll have the really good passenger trains running, and with all the cars, and we'll have the opportunity to make sure that we have express lines there, so that we can meet that goal of 24 cities with express lines. That'll be easy. So here you can see I'm going through the process of putting one out, and then as soon as we have some money, I'll bump it up to 2, and on and on. So, and you can see it loaded up a whole bunch of passengers, a bunch of mail, and 1 meat, and it will carry our cloth and our beer and our meat just fine to the cities, but it will also add passengers and mail if it's not full, and that's why with the small cities you can get away with this. You don't need a ton of volume. As the cities grow and they need more and more stuff, then you need to be running freight only, because the idea is, and for those of you who aren't familiar with this concept, a train at Kassel looks out and says, okay, what do they need ahead of me in Gutersloh and Bremen? And loads that up. In the case of Kassel, it would be who needs meat, right? Who needs passengers, who needs mail that I have. And he'll load up, and then he'll go to Gutersloh, drop off whatever is to go to Gutersloh. Then he'll say, okay, what's in this warehouse, what's in Gutersloh that I can take to Bremen, right? And he'll load up, top himself off with those goods, and drop everything off at Bremen that goes to Bremen, and then load up and do that, repeat that process going back the other way. So by having these trains run in both directions, you end up with, and here's another where I forgot to do my switches, and see there, I reset that train. That was stupid, but I'm learning. Give me some time, I'll be a competent player, I hope. So anyway, as I was saying, that whole process, then you end up transferring all your raw materials that you're bringing into the warehouse to all 3 cities, because they automatically go to Gutersloh, and then they get picked up and go to the other cities, right? And so you load up that warehouse with raw materials, and that way all 3 of your cities get the raw materials that they need. And that works up to, like 6 raw materials, right? Because you get your 3 manufactured goods and 6 raw materials, and you can grow the city to a pretty good size just with that. And then if you wanted to go bigger, which we will actually for Gutersloh, we want Gutersloh to be bigger. And we'll get into how that's going to happen, or what we'll have to do to the adjustments we'll make to this 3-city cluster to enable us to get up to 90,000. And so we'll get to that later. Will not be this video. It will be probably maybe next video. Okay, so I'm going to shut up now, because what I'm going to do here, you can see it, is just load raw materials into that warehouse. And the warehouse is beautiful how it works. It'll automatically earmark those for use. Some of them will go directly to Gutersloh. In fact, a lot of them will, because Gutersloh is a beer manufacturer. If there's any more wheat left, it'll go off to the other 2 cities. And then we're going to have logs coming from here, and they'll go off to the other 2 cities. You get the idea. So I'm just going to shut up. You can watch this play out, and I'll be back when when something different happens. It is worth noting here, this is corn. We're going to run corn into the back of Bremen, so to speak, to get it into the system. We are going to take that corn and run it to the warehouse, not to Bremen, right? But we are going to go back to Bremen on the return. And the only thing there is we want to make sure that when we leave Bremen, we leave empty so that we can start a fresh run and we don't have something held in Bremen. You know, like we don't want to pick up cloth in Bremen on this train that we're intending to take down to Kassel, right? Through the warehouse. We don't want that. We want it to be dedicated to the corn primarily. But since it's going through Bremen, it has to come back through Bremen. It might as well bring something back with it that's useful for Gutersloh, and we just have to make sure it leaves Gutersloh empty so it can start its next cycle fresh, so to speak. So now we're going to tap into that same sugar up here and we're going to do the same technique down here because it's on the south end. We're going to plug into the system at Kassel, and then we're going to bring stuff back from the Gutersloh warehouse to Kassel on our way back to the sugar, and we'll make sure that we leave the sugar empty. There you can see we had a decent little quarter. We gained 400,000, some gain. The gain in the quarter is because we're playing a scenario, right? Because we got specific tasks that we have to do. Your gains are not the same as if you were just playing in a sandbox, because some of the things that you have to do are really sunk costs that aren't getting you forward with your economic engine, right? In order to keep the task going, you've got to sacrifice a little bit. So that's why I don't worry so much that I want to see gains. I want to see the revenue go up. I want to see our economic engine growing. I want feedback and validation that we're doing the right things. But at the same time, I recognize that there are times when you've just got to bite the bullet and sink some money to get a task done, right? It's just the way it is. So there's that, whatever that was, that gives us 5% faster maintenance or less maintenance, one of the two. I'm not sure which, but whichever way it goes, it helps us with our maintenance. So here we go. We can see we've got 4 trains running there. You can see a mixture of goods. See, these trains have a mixture of goods on them. And as we get more and more raw materials into the warehouse, you'll see even more of a mixture of goods being picked up by these trains. So now I'm thinking about this task to buy out Madam Ward. It's going to take a lot of cash, and we've got city growth going. Now, the one thing I will make a comment on the city growth. I wish I'd done a better job. Perhaps, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at it more closely, of picking these cities that were already bigger. And I realized that another thing I could have done to get this task done more quickly, if I'd really been focused on trying to get the best score possible, I would have run lines down to the cities like Munich and Zurich and whatever that northmost city is over there that the entrepreneur is developing. Worms. See, Worms is a 3. See how I could have picked up those cities and attached them to our network and gotten that task done more quickly. So there's a tip for you. I don't know how we're going to do on this. I don't think we're going to do that great. And one of the things we could have done to improve is target the cities that our buddies have been working on to help us get our 7. Like Worms for sure. It's a 3-bar city already. I don't know how big Frankfurt is, but it's a 2-bar. You wanted the bigger cities, and I did several. And the reason I'm bringing this up, one is it's useful to know, and 2, I had actually thought of this maybe an hour or so earlier in my gameplay. I'd thought about, make sure that you're targeting these cities that already start at a decent, as big as possible. Don't do the 1-bar, do the 2-bar, right? And then I just went and said, okay, well, there's a beautiful 3-city cluster right there. I'll take it. And I ignored my own advice, so to speak. Anyway, so now I'm looking at how much it's going to take. Or just prior, I was looking to see how much it's going to take to buy them out. When you get a little over $6 million to buy out Madam Ward, and so rather than sit on things, what I decided to do was keep pushing, keep expanding. So the next part of this is going to be a rinse and repeat thing. I'm not going to comment on it forever and ever, but we're just going to keep driving to the south. We're going to come out of Dresden. We're going to drive to the south, hook up city after city with these nice little money-making city-to-city lines, and just keep pushing south and adding more and more to our footprint and working our way down to the area where Graetz and Zurich are. Zurich's over to the east in Switzerland. Graetz, I'm not even sure what country it's in, but it's almost due west of Zurich. The problem with Graetz is, and that connection is the mountains. We're really down in the Alps there, and that's going to be a challenge for us. But that's down the road. Right now, I'm just watching these trains run and making sure that we got our 3-city clusters going. We can see we're starting to get city growth. Even our little Johnny Hughes setup here is already starting to grow all those cities. So we've got the growth going, and that's great. Again, I wish I'd targeted bigger cities, but So here we go. Now we're going to start that process. I'm not even going to comment on this. You guys know what's coming. I'm going to keep running that Iron Duke setup. We're going to have alternating maintenance shop and with a restaurant in one, followed by a restaurant and a market hall in the next one, followed by a maintenance and a restaurant, on and on as we work our way to the south. I will comment here. I do think that they could improve this. When you buy regions in the snow, it's really hard to tell what you bought, because I think what happened here was I thought I was buying that region where Prague is, and I think I bought the one below it. And it's really hard to tell. So I think I've got that one, and it doesn't appear that I have the one I was targeting. So I probably clicked on one that was one below what I wanted. And so now I got to save up enough money to buy the one I want. It's okay because I wanted both of them eventually, but still, it's a little frustrating that you think you're buying one and your eyes fool you because the snow and the white background that they try to use for the region definitions really don't go well together. That's not a great color scheme. And while I'm thinking of it, I will say thank you for finally fixing the gridirons so that we can see them when we place them. That's nice. I really like the colors. That's something, it's one of those. Let's complain for complaining's sake. It should have been done long ago. But I don't know how many times I've complained about not being able to see if I have gridirons or not. But they did fix that, so thank you for that. I appreciate it. We all do, I think. And this is the next thing I think you could look at is figuring out how to make your regions play in the snow so that people can actually expand while they're in the snow. And you can see there, I did not pick the right option to get rid of her nagging. It is nice that you have the option to turn nagging off. That isn't always the case in real life. You'll notice we're going back to our model that we started with, right? We used a technique at the beginning to set up these good express trains on automatic, prioritizing passengers and mail with all the cars so they get all the bonuses. At the same time, we also, because they're automatic, we allow them to haul some freight if they need to top off. And that's a great way to work with these small towns. And these are all small towns, and we're not, as yet, we're not growing these towns and don't really intend to. So this is a great technique to get a nice express line going that's very profitable. It'll pay for itself fairly quickly, even with two small cities like this running, especially if you can throw in a little bit of goods on top of it, like these beer to beer line is just going to be passengers and mail, right?
That's what I call a real breakdown.
Oh,
You should exercise more control.
that's annoying. I don't know. She's pretty annoying. She can't give the Railway Empire lady a run though. She was. Oh my word! Everybody hated her. Anyway, what was I saying? I'm saying yeah, we're going back to that technique because we're really in a way starting over. This is like a start because this is an area that hasn't been touched. It hasn't been developed, and this is a great way to get early money from. This breakdown is in our little one train, one city setup. And we added a couple of maintenance places, obviously not quite enough. So we're going to add one more maintenance place out here to make sure that the trains running those lines can get their maintenance. Man, that's about all there is to say about that. Now, this is kind of funny. We had Katowice on there for a long time, blew it up, and now they're going to pay us to reconnect it. So, yeah, all right, we'll take your money. We'll take your money. Plus, we'll just treat it the same way. It's just going to be now we're going to just turn it into a good, profitable little express line, right? Rather than trying to think of it as part of a cluster or anything else. We're just going to build a nice, straight piece of track into Breslau and run a train back and forth to make us a little bit of money. Now, I'm really trying to look for something to research. There isn't a lot, right? We've got most of it. We've researched all the things we need. Some of them we don't care about. And the only one we're kind of, I looked at this and said, well, to get to some of the others we'd like, there's a couple of maintenance ones still out there. We're going to have to get that Le Continent. The problem, of course, when you get that is now you got a faster train than your Iron Duke, right? So, which is good, but it also means that all those trains have to be updated. And we'll deal with that a little bit later on, not to give anything away. And so now back to this, we're going to just set up our little line here between. Now notice what they're doing here. Our competitor are bidding like $1 million francs. No, not francs. Marks. Sorry. $1 million marks for a research that's going to barely improve their company. Well, God love them. I hope may they win. Of course, they'll win. One of them will win. That means that one of them is going to spend a whole bunch of their money, and they're not making that much anyway. So, bad business decisions being made by poorly run companies, which I guess fits. So anyway, we've got our line, and I'm just going to put a little gridiron here. And here's that nice orange and white alternating stripe so you can actually see it. And there's that annoying squeak of the trains. They need better train. For a train game, it has lousy train noises, I must say. Anyway, there's now Katowice can run and they can make us some money and good. And there you can see the train pulled up there, ready to go. All right. Back to the south, and I'll go back to silent mode. Okay, now we're going to get our first taste of the Alps. Whoa, what's that? Only I could be surprised by a giant mountain a few hundred yards away from me. But the we're wanting to get. I want to get down there to Graetz and eventually to get over to Zurich. And looking at that, I'm trying to think of, okay, is there a way that I can deal with this and have a fairly straight line? Because the thing you have to do here, if we want to have our express line to Zurich, which we do, or if we want to have traffic flowing from Graetz to Linz, which is what we're working on right now, which we do, then we can't have too big a curvy line, or the passengers and mail will not go across that line. So we've got to keep this fairly straight. So just kind of looking at this to see what can we do, and I'm finally going to wise up and realize these are the Alps, man. You're not going through the Alps. You're not going over the Alps. The only way you can go through the Alps is if you spend a fortune for a tunnel. So I finally said, okay, all right, I have messed up here. So we're going to change the orientation of the station so that it's pointing more kind of northeast to southwest, kind of like that. So we can go around those mountains, and then we're going to look to see what does that do to us if we go around the worst parts of the Alps here. Or yeah, that's right, Alps. I'm getting Alps and Himalayas mixed up here for some reason. So anyway, I've been playing that Lazara game, so maybe that's why. So anyway, here we are. We're trying to get around the Alps. So can we go around it pretty reasonably? And we can. You can see it's fairly easy. It's not horrible slope. It's not, we can keep max speed. And, we've got one bridge we probably don't really need, but otherwise it's not a horrible line. It's not even horribly expensive. Now the question becomes, is it straight enough for us to get traffic? So you can see it looks like it probably is. That's kind of what I'm doing right there. It looks like it probably is. So we're going to build it, and then when we put a train on it, we'll just check to see if we get any passengers or mail. If we do, we're good. And if we don't, that just says, okay, you've curved out too much and you are past that more than twice the straight line limit, and you're going to have a problem. So I keep going back to this, wondering why is this taking so long, and I just kick myself for not just going down there and connecting to Voms or something else. That was just so stupid. But we can see we're getting, they're all growing. It's just that they started so small. So we're doing just fine. It's just kind of meh gameplay as far as getting the task done. Because I really, really should have gone down there and grabbed a couple of their cities and been done with it. But anyway, I keep crying about that, don't I? All right, so here's the big test. We've got to get this set up. Got to run our line and see if we get passengers and mail. If we do, we're good. If we don't, well, obviously we're not. We're going to have to redo it and make it shorter if we want it to work. And you'll notice some of these are like beer, and they're obviously not going to haul any cargo. I decided, since I'm just almost I'm almost like an assembly line making these, I decided to just keep using the same process and not even pay attention to whether it would or wouldn't carry anything. And there we go. We've got passengers, we got mail. Good deal. That worked. And that's a pretty good if you look at the whole Zurich thing. Now, for Zurich, we need to go through that little Tyrol, which has no cities in it, but it actually is useful. And we need 320 to get into into Switzerland there where Zurich is, and then we can go ahead and create that line. Now there we gained a little bit more that quarter than we did the last quarter, so that's good. And a breakdown in maintenance, that's not good. So we'll fix that. We'll put maintenance in the warehouse. We'll put maintenance, I think we'll put maintenance on both ends as well. Make sure that they're not spending an inordinate amount of time in any one place holding things up, particularly that warehouse. In fact, a good design would probably be to have the maintenance on the two ends and not in the middle, because the middle gets a lot of activity. In fact, the middle might even be a good place to put a dispatch hall to speed up processing. Actually, that would have been a good thing. Wish I'd done that. Okay, now we can start working on this line from Zurich to Graetz. And you can see we just got to kind of skirt the Alps as we go along. So we're going to go up there to that lake. Is that Lake Lucerne? Somebody who knows their geography. I should look it up, but I'm too lazy. Pretty sure that's Lake Lucerne. But anyway, that big old lake there.
Build somewhere else?
No, we can't. Well, actually, we can. We will in a minute, as a matter of fact. So, trying to just run a line over there, see how this is going to be, how ugly it's going to get. So you can see that city we have to go around right there. At this moment, the name's escaping me. We'll see it in a minute. But that city is in the way. And I'm thinking we could get a straighter line in Salzburg. We could get a straighter line if we just went right through that city, right? So what I decided to do, instead of building the Zurich to Graetz first, I decided to build a line back to Salzburg and then use a track in Salzburg to go through the city, to just pass through it, to have that line that goes directly from Zurich to Graetz. And that way we can save all that geography we would have to have. So what I'm going to do here is actually come off of Linz. So we're going to have move the track to Graetz over one to the third platform, and then take that second platform and go down here and make a beeline for Salzburg. So we'll have a little Salzburg
Is this expansion random?
We'll have a Salzburg to Graetz, or Linz, sorry, Salzburg to Linz connection, and that wasn't too painful, and that'll give us a nice line. So yet another line that'll make us some money, and then we'll have then we'll be able to go through the city to make our line for Zurich. So I remembered that Linz had the maintenance, so that means that Salzburg does not. So we'll put in restaurant and market hall and go from there. So here I'm building the line that's going to go over to Graetz. But even though it's coming out of Salzburg, it won't be a Salzburg to Graetz line. It'll be the eastern part of the Zurich to Graetz line, right? And it's going to have dedicated track running into it, and dedicated platform, so we will have zero issues getting an express line. and it looks very, very much like it'll be fine in terms of the straight line distance. It's almost a straight line. We go away from Zurich for a little bit, and then we're making almost a beeline for Zurich to get through Salzburg and go over there. So confident that this will work, and by hugging those tracks like that, it makes it much easier to put this track in on bad terrain, and so that all worked out pretty nicely.
What nonsense! I'm already represented here.
Now here, I did think about our chief engineer and Leonidas, and I remember him talking about, it was on the that South America DLC for Railway Empire, how he was able to go along the coast down there around Lima and that area where it was really hard to build track, and build something that only had like 2 degrees change in slope all the way, and by hugging the coast of the ocean in that case. In this case, we're hugging the coast of that lake, and really able to build a fairly good. Now I don't have the patience. I can build the track. I don't have the patience to build the track. So as soon as it works and I've got some money, I spend the money and go. But if I had a little more patience, I could build a really nice line here, I think, that just hugged the water and had minimal changes in elevation and kept up your max speed. And actually, truth be told, that's what we're doing here. It's all looking pretty good. We got one bridge in there, little bridge and tunnel here. We've got to figure out how to get, make that right-hand turn. Do we swing out more and make it or whatever? And that's what we're going to do, is swing out a little bit, but without getting out over the lake where we have to build a huge bridge. And then, if we end up with a little tunnel, so be it. I can't remember if we do or don't. But yeah, I decided to go with a little bridge. Now the speeds right in there are not good, so we got to fix that. We got to just change the angles of the track. And I'm just trying to see which way do we need to go. We need to go further to the east to get the full speed. So full speed ahead gives us a bit of a tunnel. That gives us a lot of a tunnel, but only 2 degrees of slope. So it's always a trade-off. What do you need? Like if you think back to, again, another Railway Empire reference, that Japan DLC, one of those tasks was to have all those express lines in that really mountainous area of Japan. And we were toward the end of the playthrough of that DLC. We had a lot of money, so we just built these straight lines with giant tunnels and blasted through the earth and had these incredibly nice lines going. So I don't know if it's, I think this says 2 things. I'm starting to ramble about old stuff. I think that's either I'm getting really old and I'm starting to reminisce a lot and I can't seem to stay in the present. That's one possible answer. The other answer is I just don't have a whole lot more to say. I mean, you guys can see what's going on. You guys are good players. We don't have to worry about it. So anyway, here's where we are. The old man is rambling, and you guys are staying with me, so appreciate it very much. And so here we go. Now we're going to build our line, and we're going to run our train, and we're going to have another task done. Now, the key thing for us to look for is once that line starts, do we get passengers in the mail? We do. We're good. We will get an express line there. We will get that task done. So good. There's one more down.
Our network is growing and thriving. It is important that we not only pay attention to the big-name cities in our efforts, but also promote growth across the board.
All right, there we go. We got our 7 cities done. A little slow, I must say. I'm embarrassed by that, but it's okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't awful. It could have been better. Could have been a lot better if we just bothered to go down and pick up like one of the cities that our competitor, no, I'm sorry, it's Idris Bailey, one of the ones he developed. Now you can see they're just not worth anything compared to us, which of course is what you'd expect. They're just regular AI. And in Railway Empire 2, the AI doesn't seem to do anything except build a certain size footprint and sit there. That's kind of disappointing, being honest with you. So what I decided to do to buy out Madam Ward is to close all the current bonds. So, and I don't know if this is necessarily the right way to go, but close all the bonds so we're debt-free and accumulating cash. And then double check how much money do I need to buy her out, and then watch that amount and see, how much can I borrow, right? I continue to grow, so the bonds that I could borrow should get bigger and bigger. And then when the amount of cash that I have plus the amount I can borrow is greater than what I need, well, then we make our move. We open up the bonds, we buy her out, and liquidate everything, of course, and then we're good to go. Now, the other thing about closing the bonds is as you close a bond, there's interest you're not paying. So in effect, you do pay a penalty for closing, but once you close it, then your revenue actually goes up because your expenses have gone down because I'm not paying off that bond anymore, the interest on the bond. So again, we're trying to just increase our revenue stream without doing a lot of investing other than just getting rid of these bonds. And it kind of doesn't matter. We could have left this one open. It doesn't matter. But we're big enough now where we'll quickly be able to swallow up Madam Ward's company. So we're bond free. You can see we can get about 3.7 million, and I'm double checking here to see how much. Whoops, went too far. Here we go. How much do we actually need to buy her out? 6.3. Notice I'm not interested in 50%. We're going to buy her out. 6.3 million, and so what did I say? 3.7. So we're going to need 3.5 million of our own money, of cash. And that won't take us very long to accumulate, and then we'll buy Madam Ward. And you can see here, I just keep going back and doing the same thing over again. And I'm sure some of you are going, what is the matter with him? But I don't know what else, something else was going on. And I kept getting distracted. And so I kept forgetting how much, and I'm not that smart anyway. So I kept forgetting how much I needed to accumulate. I probably should have written it down. So now here's the thing. We've gotten our 300, so we can get the Le Continent.
Similar model years ago.
And so you can see now we've got all these express lines that are in danger of not being express lines. Now that one for Zurich to Graetz, I want to make, this was probably a mistake actually to do that research until that line was finished, honestly. I think that was a goof. I believe, actually though, Zurich to Graetz, that might be its first run. It may have only made that first pass. It may be going back on its first run. But what I decided to do here is if I want to buy Madame Ward. That's my main goal. So I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of cash yet to upgrade my trains. But I did want to upgrade that one train to make sure that it gets express status on its line, because that's a task we're trying to get done. So now you can see the amount that we can borrow is slowly creeping up because our value is going up. And her value actually is kind of vacillating. I think it's really going down a little bit. So our value is going up. The amount of borrow we can
but you delivered
get
a solid
is about.
performance. Congratulations.
And there, I think that's our. I think that's the Zurich to Graetz line. And here I go spastic with the controls. I get a lot of I do get a mild amount of pleasure from watching myself play. It's almost like a comedy. Okay, so where are we? Oh yes, we got our Zurich to Graetz line. Now we're just going to accumulate a little more cash, and we'll go buy Madame Ward. And that'll be the end of this episode. We will have accomplished that task, and and we'll get a whole new set of tasks, our final set of tasks, I believe. Okay, so now we're going to make our move. We're going to take the second biggest bond and the biggest one, and we're going to buy her out completely.
I knew Bavarian Saxony would be willing to sell some shares in their state railroad. That way, we can put them to a better use. I am pleased to pass a word of praise from our sponsors on to you. They are very excited about our progress and can't wait for us to move on to the next stage. Our daily revenues exceed the projections of our backers. Congratulations! The final step will be to consolidate the network within the German Confederation. We are to penetrate regions that have been neglected so far and connect the German patchwork of states with the strong glue that a transportation network provides.
Okay, so we got a whole bunch of talking there because we finished off a task, got a whole new set of tasks, and we already had one of them done, the $700,000 a week balance. And so here you can see what we've got to do. We've got two more of those 3 city things I hate. We've got to connect 1,000 people, or no, a million people to our network. That shouldn't be bad. We'll just keep growing cities and just keep expanding out, and that'll help us get our 24 express lines as well. And now we can look at the Le Continent and actually upgrade all of our trains. It took me a minute to remember how to do it, but now we're going to go in and say, okay, I want to take all the Iron Dukes and turn them into Le Continent because it's a slightly faster train. There we go. And that wasn't that bad. If I'd known it was that cheap, I would have done it earlier. And then we do have some G&M Americans we were running earlier. Well, actually one train. We're going to replace, good, I didn't do that. We want to take that and turn that into a Rhine. There we go. So now we've turned that train into a Rhine. So it's running. So we've got a few Rhines running with our kind of our freight lines, so to speak. And we've got Le Continent running on all of our express lines. So we should be in good shape to move into the final push to get this scenario finished. I hope you're enjoying this. I hope you are seeing something that's going to help you become a better player. I hope you'll like, comment, and subscribe, and join us for our next Railway Empire 2 video. Thank you.